Nodcry's world quests are uniquely different from other Genshin world quests. They are not these expansive quests that span the entire region. Instead, the focus is on telling smaller stories that further expand the lore. But a huge thank you to Rigasi from the community for giving me a handy, non-spoilery guide on these world quests that I should be checking out. Starting with the Nightingale song. Funnily enough, Nodcry has done such a fantastic job at designing landmarks that naturally, as I was exploring Nodcry, I just ran into many of these world quests. I noticed this gigantic lighthouse on top of a mountain. I was like, I gotta go there. And as I was approaching the lighthouse, I ran into a bunch of Lightkeepers that needed help. They led me to the headquarters of the Lightkeepers, and now I'm starting the quest. How cool is it that we get to explore and visit Perimida? The Lightkeepers became so much more of an important, real faction than just a title that you would give an NPC because you got to see how they function. I remember when I took the rail up and I saw Iluga giving a motivational speech to his fellow Lightkeepers to continue fighting against the Wild Hunt, as this incredible OST fills my heart with motivation to join the fight. It's like, I'm ready to fight the Wild Hunt. I was just blown away. Finally, after so long, a playable character becomes such a prominent NPC character in a world quest. This is essentially Iluga's unvoiced story quest. It adds so much more weight and action that we'll be taking with Iluga in these next couple of hours. There was a heavy moment in the quest where we meet up with Iluga at the Lightkeeper camp, and at this moment I was already dealing with the Wild Hunt. We were picking up journals from missing in action Lightkeepers, and we were even helping out some Lightkeeper ghosts. All of these aspects really just highlighted how oppressive the Wild Hunt has been in Nodcry. Going from this densely populated Perimida to this scarcely populated camp, I could understand why some of these Lightkeepers felt hopeless in their fight against the Wild Hunt. We also got to meet Aaliyah, which, not to be mistaken for her twin sister Ayla, who is the first Moon Enchanter. It took me until writing this to realize that there are two different people, which now makes all the quests make so much more sense. But either way, the Pillar of Embla is also just such an awesome landmark representing this madman's goal to break the false sky. Just seeing this gargantuan tower trying to reach the top of the sky is so freaking cool, which perfectly ties into what we are up against, which is this gigantic abyss eye that is seemingly the Professor Rotwang.
Actually, the eye is another manifestation of the Scourge of Endless Decay. Rotwang is the rift.
Either way, it's something we gotta kill. Bringing us to fighting one of his students, which is just, it's such an awesome fight. The boss design of this abyssal panther looking creature is very awesome. I always loved the abyss starry effect on many of the abyss creatures, so it was cool to see the panther having that. The fact that it would just constantly taunt me during the fight is just also incredible. And then to end the fight where the Traveler and Iluga fire the spiral blade at the rift to prevent the creature from returning was just such an awesome cutscene. I really enjoyed this fight and also how it concluded. Now, I haven't actually mentioned anything about the other companions joining us alongside Iluga, but I did find Roland and Leffer and Bjorn to be worthwhile characters who are carrying on this weight of what it means to be a Lightkeeper with the risks, because let's be honest, Iluga is a playable character. He ain't dying. So the fact that Bjorn dies in this quest actually had an impact. We understood the risk that these Lightkeepers were taking. And then the finale of this quest is absolutely peak as we fire the arrow at the Professor. What an awesome reveal for the lighthouse being an actual cannon to fire this arrow. I was hollering at my screen seeing this moment. I could not believe my eyes that this was just hidden behind a world quest. I really enjoyed this quest a lot. They gave us some incredible cinematics. A playable character had a pivotal role in this quest, and it brought life to the Lightkeepers. But after a job well done, I had to head back south to Hisi Island and begin collecting rocks. I met a weird girl with a cool helmet and a creepy girl with soulless eyes, but whatever, I continued to collect more and more rocks. Little did I know that these rock collecting moments brought me to our next World Quest series, Polka Beneath the Moon's Oracle. Now this quest had actually some pretty cool visual moments. One being the fight against Isla in the mirror. It was a simple puzzle fight, but visually tracking this creature in the mirrors as these pillars are trying to block us, it presents enough of an obstacle and difference in combat gameplay that I enjoyed. I wasn't expecting us to also repair the pillar at the Sanctum of the Oathkeeper. I thought that it was just some cool environment thing, but then the fact that we are actually fixing it is super cool. I love that when we enter the Sanctum, we are also identified as Shikoto, which that just absolutely made me smile. I am also just a sucker for these cool environments. I love the way the sparkling black sand looks as we're skating around these little currents. The sun peeking through the dark clouds is such an awesome visual. And the actual quest leads us to like 4 pieces of dramatic lore that tie itself so perfectly into the Nightingale Song quest, which is that we have Lovia, who is the grandmother of Isla and Aaliyah, Aaliyah, the second Reed Miller, Isla, the first Moon Enchanter, Solveig, the first Lightkeeper, and Rotwing, the professor that we just blown to smithereens in the past quest. One letter gives us the deep connection between Lovia and Rotwing, which sets the foundation for why Lovia didn't want Isla to be with Sol. The lore for the Moonreaver Dawn, the weapon itself, gives us Isla's perspective of taking control and ultimately killing her grandmother Lovia. The letter to Isla from Solveig is an apology, apologizing for allowing Aaliyah to sacrifice herself to stop Rotwing, and to ask for permission to use the Terpakaronosaurus, the freaking arrow that we shot at the end of the Nightingale quest. You want me to pronounce everything correctly? It's whatever. It's just freaking incredible. The fact that they're just tying in everything that I just played into the history of Nodcry was so cool. I did want to briefly mention some smaller world quests. There was one non-quest where I followed a bunch of wolves, which was, funnily enough, I played right before Varka came out. So it was this perfect introduction to reintroduce Boreas into Nodcry. However, I kind of wish Boreas had some sort of unique line, because I did go back and try to talk with him and fight him, and no additional unique lines after completing that quest. I greatly appreciated that much of the smaller quests were actually varied and unique. New characters, new styles of gameplay. 1 minute I'm helping install art with Bobik. On the other hand, I'm fighting an old granny. I don't know why. There was even one where I was flying into space for no reason besides it just being goddamn beautiful. I also just cannot forget to talk about the insane apocalypse shelter built by Rotwing, which was certainly my favorite of these smaller quests because it just heavily reminded me of Fallout. In Fallout, you're exploring these different vaults and you're learning stories that happened in these vaults. The experience going through Rotwing's shelter, it felt so much. You were going through the story of what happened here and how it all fell apart. I think what I really appreciated about going through these quests is the focus on providing you a unique gameplay or visual experience. Yes, the lore is there, but it really made Nodcry feel so much more bigger as I'm visiting all these different unique environments with gameplay that doesn't feel repetitive. On top of that, they've greatly improved the reputation system. Natlan, when they started, it split the reputation based on the different tribes, but there were still weekly bounties and supplies that still dominated the reputation grind, though a lot less than before. In Nodcry, they have decided to allow players to just enjoy the game. Exploring an area, completing quests in that area will naturally reward you with reputation points. And what makes it even better is that each meeting point involves a voice quest with a playable character related to that meeting point. It makes the world feel so much more personal because I'm not just talking to some random NPC that's named Reputation. I'm helping out a character that I've gotten to know through the world quests on further expanding their story. And the best part is, after you 100%, you get a final voice cutscene about all the hard work you've put into helping them out. It's such a wonderful reward, and at the time of this video, I've actually only 100%ed Hisi Island, but I love to see how those other meeting points wrap up. Oh yeah, I also can't forget that we have Nicole and Columbina quest as well, which are these daily quests that will show up. I have done some of the Columbina quests, and also at the time of this recording, Nicole's quests haven't actually come out, so I'm not quite sure, but they're just kind of fun, small little quests. But yeah, it's just great to learn more about these characters that we actually care about than a random NPC. And I can't believe we're actually here. After everything what's happening with Nodcry, we're going to be learning about Asmodee. What a wild quest to just randomly drop in Luna 6, okay? Ring the bell because we're at endgame here, okay? I was in all this entire quest. Anyone interested in any aspect of Genshin lore can appreciate how incredible the Temple of Space is. Asmodee uses this place to preserve civilizations. Ascending into the sky, I hear this ominous chanting. And I see the Genshin Impact login screen. We finally know what that location is. I got chills just walking through this place that I've seen hundreds of times. What is Hoyoverse cooking? Are they implying that we came from the Temple of Space? Are they implying that modern civilization may fall once again? Why is the Temple of Space used for the players who enter the world of Teyvat? Or more specifically, why is Asmodee making that whole place for the login screen? Or is this a meta commentary that we, the players, are viewing a simulation of a world of a civilization that no longer exists? The Temple of Space is absolutely gorgeous. I love every aspect of this location, from the first view of these unique puzzles through the reflections in other locations of Teyvat. Asmodee even built these small exhibits where you can dive into the different regions of Teyvat to experience the stories in them. The way they've rendered the paint strokes were incredible. There was a black and white crane throughout this painted world, and it looked painted. It was so incredible. I also never thought I would be so impressed with a place called Hell, but here I am. It looks incredible. And seeing all the way they were able to utilize different tones and shades of red to just define this whole location is so cool. So much love and care went into making this a truly fun experience. Oh, and then you have the freaking hand from hell coming down. It's just such a cool visual. Like, this is what I love so much about World Quest, is when they have so much love and care into environment design. It truly made for such a fun experience. But even the story is great. Sure, we don't learn directly about Asmodee, but there is so much we can infer about her. Her interest in preserving past civilizations, building these authentic exhibits for us to wander through and to experience what it was like. I am not a lore master to any extent, so I cannot fathom how dense all of these character names and who and why they were important. The fact that we got to meet Historia, who was the mentor of the person who created the artificial sun in Ankyomia, is barely scratching the surface as to what incredible lore can be unearthed here. I also was not expecting the conclusion with Milanta. To lead with Asmodee's Watcher being so depressed that Asmodee has not returned and has begun torturing people to obey the rules, in hopes that one day they will be praised upon Asmodee's return. That is some wild psychological torture. I did actually find it very funny when Zetlin told Milanta that, like, you gotta get some help. Now, if you'll allow me, let me just put on my tinfoil hat here. Okay, but what if Zetlin was Hilda? A lot of this quest dealt with change. Asmodee wanted to preserve these civilizations like any museum, a still moment in time. But Asmodee ascended real people from these civilizations. The people grew, learned, and changed. After hundreds of years, this civilization would not be the same. It's why Milanta tortured those people, because they changed. To me, this idea of change relates to Zaitlin. Zaylin and Hilda share the same body because your physical body doesn't define who you are. It's your memories and your experience that you've had throughout your life that define you. That empty tombstone is meant to represent her death, as the experience and memories she will be creating in the future are for someone else. Look, I'm probably wrong, but I thought it would be a fun thought exercise for the end of this video. And that's all for my Nodcry World Quest thoughts. I most certainly will not be doing this for Snezhnaya. I think I'll just make a short video if a world quest that I really like and I want to talk about, I'll make a video about that. But unlike this one where I completed a quest months ago and waited to complete the other quest, I won't be doing that next time. But also, in the next several days, you will be hearing my thoughts on Nodcry Act 9 and Act 10. Holy, we are getting so close to Snezhnaya. I cannot wait, man. It's go time. Holy, we are almost here. I'll see you all next time. See you later. Goodbye now. Bye-bye.